Welcome in. It's the Second Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and today we are mega preview podding. We've got the RSM Classic, but quite honestly, a pretty busy news week as far as news weeks in November go. Joining me to break it all down, Greg DuCharme is here. Gregors, good to see you.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm excited to break it all down. There is a lot of really interesting stuff to get into, whether it's good news, bad news, or something in the middle. I think we kind of touch all of those. I'm really excited to break them down, and I'm looking forward to the RSM Classic as well.
The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, all things that we will talk about today. Mark Immelman is here. Mr. Mark, it's good to see you.
Yeah, how's it, boys? Always look forward to the RSM Classic, so let's dive in.
It is one of, so I was there, it's kind of hard to get to because it's an island, but man, what a great location. What a great...
It doesn't feel like an island though. It's, it's not like you imagine the Caribbean or anything, but it's a really cool spot. I love going down there to Sea Island.
Yeah, it is. It is outstanding. We'll get to Sea Island, put that on the back burner for now, because gentlemen, we've got a bunch of breaking news that has happened over the course of the last couple of days. Let's start with the most recent, and that is that Victor Perez has withdrawn from the RSM Classic, and he has done that because he is now joining LIV Golf. Yes, that's right, Mark. He is raising the watching. This is going to complete the cliques who finished in 12th out of 12 teams last year. He is going to join Martin Kaymer, Richard Bland, and Adrian Meronk. He has then, of course, this news came out, Greg, I actually think a little bit sooner than they were hoping to, because the cliques had teased an announcement for tomorrow, and then Tom Kershaw broke the news, and they just said, okay, they dropped the press release on us today, and then Victor Perez had a WD.
Yep, that's how these things go, I guess. If anybody else knows, it's not a secret. So the press releases are really difficult to get by. Look, I'm a fan of Victor Perez. I think he's a wonderful player. I know there was murmurings about some players leaving and heading to LIV, and this is the first one that I've heard of. And look, I think that Victor Perez is a wonderful player, but at the same time, this also highlights the LIV Golf problem that I believe sits in front of them. How do they increase their turnover and continue to get star players when they're also not doling out the big contracts anymore? So it almost feels like they're in a position where they're stuck. They've got their leaders. They've got the couple of name brand guys, but I don't know how they continue to fill these spots with players of interest. I don't know what kind of interest Victor Perez will draw. So perhaps it highlights a little bit of that, but yeah, too bad, because I like Victor Perez.
Well, Greg, I think it's a very difficult choice for the cliques to make, because according to Martin Kaymer, there is, quote, tremendous interest in joining Cliques Golf Club, and they are thrilled to welcome Victor as the final piece of their rosters, referring to 2026. He would go on to say that LIV Golf is driving innovation in the game. They're focused on building not just a stronger team, but also contributing to the next, yes, we've heard this, grow the game, international, global superstars, et cetera, et cetera. I do think it's interesting, Mark, because Greg's right. The $100 million contracts for guys like Victor Perez, they do not exist anymore. And Victor Perez is in this really awkward spot. Just lost his tour card, right? It was through 2025. He's like 110th in the FedEx Cup fall. Barring a win this week at the RSM, he was not going to have a lot of status, or at least good status, going into next year. So this is the type of golfer that's like kind of in purgatory a little bit, that LIV has come in and picked off.
Yeah, is the thing. When I saw the news, this certainly didn't ruffle my feathers whatsoever. Victor Perez, I love him. He's a great guy. He truly is. And I believed he could win on the PGA Tour because he's got a lot of game. But the only reason why you'd pick him in a lineup is because the guy's like 6'5". He's massive. And so that's why he stands out. Otherwise, he's just like another golfer kind of deal. So as far as LIV is concerned, I'm wondering if the same person writes these press releases for all of the LIV teams, because they're exactly the same thing. I mean, let's get creative a little bit at least. But are the folks in Ponte Vedra rubbing their eyes about this one? I don't think so. Would love to French golf. Could he be a real star for French golf? Absolutely. I mean, he podiumed in the Olympics, I believe, or did he finish just outside the podium? He was like fourth, but he made a run at Le Golf National as a Frenchman, and that was a thrill to watch. I'm wondering why he just didn't go back to Europe. Because you can win tournaments over there, earn world ranking points. Now, I'm guessing they're thinking that they're going to get the ranking points now, so he can play his way into majors and such. Because I believe this guy can win tournaments. I really do. And going to LIV, I don't know, how old is Victor Perez? He's not of the Bubba Watson ilk right now, where it's like, okay, pass my sell by. Certainly not, I don't believe.
He's 33.
Yeah, man, he's still young. So, odd decision. I'm sure it's at the hands of losing the card, but that didn't mean his PGA Tour career was over. He could have quite easily gone to the DP World Tour. So, strange. Don't know what the deal was. Is it a needle mover? Definitely not.
Well, I'm happy to announce that the signing of Perez also aligns with the team's long-term ambitions to combine both performance with culture and fashion. Because when I think of Victor Perez, I think of both culture and fashion. So we'll see what comes out of Cleeks GC this season.
Rick,
stop.
Can you imagine?
Stop a second.
What?
So here's a question for you: if we are Cleek and we're trying to, combine what fashion?
We're trying to combine performance with culture and fashion.
So, okay, if you're Martin Keimer, team captain, and Scotty Scheffler rings you up, who's the least fashionable golfer in the world, and goes, yo, Marty, I want to be on your Cleeks team. Do you think he's going to turn him down because he wears khaki pants every single day of the week? No.
And only a white hat. Yeah,
and a white hat. No, this is completely.
How about this as well? The Cowboys have an opportunity to get Quinnen Williams on their team, and they put in their press release that it's not just his performance on the field, but we like the way he dresses heading into the games.
Right.
And we think the culture is a good thing for the Cowboys organization. Right? If you want to develop these franchises, you got to go to performance, and you got to keep it that way. Like this is going to help our team play better. Hopefully Victor can, rally some results, and we see the 3 top 10s on the PGA Tour from 2024, a couple of really nice performances, and that gets us out of the cellar in this league. That's the kind of thing, if you really want the franchises to work, don't talk to me about the fashion.
Preach, Reverend.
You also wear a uniform.
and they got that dark green. I remember seeing Richard Bland at the PGA Championship, because he was grouped with Bryson in my group on Saturday, and he had this like hunter green, shiny looking mercerized cotton shirt on, and I'm like, ew, I like green, but no, this is too green. Anyhow, what I did want to say, I don't know what the futures are, but I would lay a little wager to say he may be the best player on the Cleeks team in 2026. I'll go there.
I think he's the favorite for that. Yeah. I think we'll lap those guys. I didn't even read the next sentence of that press release, which is a full-on ad that says, in addition to staking a claim as a leading force on the field, Cleeks Golf Club has partnered with notable brands in the lifestyle space, launching collaborations with Brooklyn label Public Drip, renowned mixed media artist Jacob Fellender, and the Art of Golf, which invited digital artists to design bags to be displayed and used throughout the 2026 season. There are actually more lines of this press release that are appear to be sponsored than appear to be about Victor Perez joining the Cleeks. So
I find this fascinating, right? Because Martin Keimer is a good-looking dude, and he's muscular and well-built and stuff, and he's put together nicely and looked pretty good in Adidas stuff. Now all of a sudden he's wearing Public Drip, whatever it is. I'm like, are we that desperate for money? Gee whiz.
They might be. Speaking of money, speaking of fines, speaking of going back to the DP World Tour, that's what Henrik Stenson's going to do. And this is actually, I mean, if you go back and think about the butterfly effect and the things that have gone on since Henrik Stenson declared he was going to go to LIV, he is headed back to the DP World Tour. He has been relegated. He's been relegated off the Majestics. And last year was the first time that captains were not immune from relegation. So Bubba Watson got saved a couple of years ago. Henrik Stenson has not. 49th in the season-long standings. He is up to date, Greg, on his fines, about $1 million, £1 million worth of fines from the DP World Tour that have been repaid and have paved the way for Henrik Stenson to get back to the DP World Tour.
Which is very interesting. And it's probably a good thing for LIV that they have relegation, that this is possible, right? Because it's not necessarily, like, you hear somebody's going back and it feels like it's a big win for the PGA Tour, so to speak. And I don't think that this is the case. I think it actually, in a way, highlights the fact that there is some turnover on LIV. I doubt that it's enough. And from what I've seen, it's not enough in the eyes of the OWGR. But separate issue, there is turnover. And so now it leads me to wonder, does Henrik Stenson look back on the decision to go to LIV in a positive light or in a negative light? I'll be very curious to see if he makes any comments regarding that. I imagine financially it was a win, and it's a good thing that he's got a place to land on the DP World Tour. And it seems like there was an article written I couldn't read, but
because you don't know how to read, or because you couldn't access it.
It was in another language. No, that's not true. I couldn't access it. But basically, from what I surmise, what I've pieced together, he's not going to get into. He's basically starting from square one. So he'll get into some of the smaller events, and he'll have to work his way up into the bigger events on the DP World Tour. So, you're getting a kind of a fresh start in your career. It'll be interesting to see what he does with it. Does his game develop more on the DP World Tour than it did on LIV? I'm very, very curious. And of course, what happened is the Ryder Cup stuff just done and gone. Also fascinating.
Boy, he's kissing babies and shaking hands and stuff right now.
Sure.
Here's the way I see it. Henrik Stenson, I've known him for ages, and he's been mixed up in all sorts of stuff. There was the money laundering scheme where his guy invested a bunch of money there with, I can't remember, was the guy, his name was Alan, whatever. So Henrik lost lots of money there, and then had a great run, won a major, won a bunch of money back. Yeah, exactly. And then he was involved with investing. He was investing in art, and then that was a bit of a scheme as well, and he lost money there as well. Alan Stanford was the first guy. There were a bunch of PGA Tour guys who lost money there. And so he's fallen on the wrong side of the finances a bunch. And then he was playing great, of course, and Ryder Cup captain to be, and then takes the LIV deal, captain and stuff. And then I just don't know if Henrik was really happy doing that sort of stuff. And then he started playing up to maggots. And right now he's like, right, done with this. Contract's done. I got my money. I'm out. Now you go and make friends with the European Tour folks again, because remember, Rick used the term purgatory. Henrik's not young. He's like my brother's age. So he's in the late 40s. And so you're kind of getting past your time, and the youngsters are coming up thick and fast. Now, I don't know how many young golfers LIV is recruiting, but I think he's seen the writing on the wall to say, okay, my next foray in golf is announcing or Ryder Cup captaining or, speaking engagements and stuff like this. And so it would be at my best, what's the word I'm looking for? Best interests to be involved with the DP World Tour, because that opens up a large golf market where if you would LIV, there's a certain sort of chapter of people, I guess, you'd be involved with. So I always thought this would have been a temporary foray with him, and it was sad he lost the Ryder Cup captaincy, but I'm certain that he is angling to try and get a shot at that sometime in the future.
49 years old is Henrik Stenson. He'll turn 50 in April. It's interesting, Greg. He joined LIV Golf in 2022, so their first season, but he did not play until their third event. He won that event. He won his very first start. Not a single podium after that. Rarely a top 10 after that. Now, 5 months from being 50 years old, the decision to go to LIV turns into him losing out on Ryder Cup captaincy, turns Luke Donald into this Ryder Cup folk hero who's now got victories in Rome and in New York. Like, is it even is it possible he could become the Ryder Cup captain? Like, just because you're back on the DP World Tour, like, does time heal all wounds? I don't know about this.
I don't know either.
Everybody's
Now,
trying to play nice though, Greg.
Of course
they are. He's got nowhere to go. He's been scammed out of $8 million. He's been relegated off of a team that he co-captained and co-owns. He's not old enough to go to the senior tour if he could even get on it. He's of course he's playing nice now. He's all out of options.
Yeah. Out of options. And I wonder if he plays, if he goes and rebuilds his game and plays well and wins tournaments on the DP World Tour, says the right things in his press conferences. Is there a world where this can heal? Yes. But the concern is it doesn't work out on the DP World Tour either. And he's not playing golf anywhere. And now how do you go to him as a captain? I doubt he's the captain in Ireland. So you probably need like 4 years of good play on the DP World Tour at 50, to get back to relevant. You got to get back to relevant again. I think that's a really tough spot. So I would lean more towards no. Can he play well enough over the next 2 years to get a vice captain spot? Because that's a real important thing in the DP World Tour for their European Ryder Cup captains. They don't pick random captains. They pick from within. They hire from within. And if he can muster up enough performance to get back involved with Ryder Cup Europe, then there's a chance. But I think that's a stretch.
I hear you. I need to say this. I'm a big fan of Henrik Stenson. He's a great guy. He is tremendously popular. I don't know what the feeling is over in Europe after the departure to LIV, but over recent weeks, years, we've seen that the kind of rift that was a thing a few years ago has kind of dissolved a little bit. I look at Stenson, and then you talk about the captains. I'm going to pitch you a few names. Thomas Bjorn, who's not really a relevant golfer. Eduardo Molinari. In fact, both Molinari brothers, they're kind of field fillers a little bit. So they got some captains. And then Luke Donald hasn't been playing great forever. So if a Ryder Cup goes to Sweden, this guy being their only male major champion is like, it's almost a no-brainer because in Sweden, he's still massively popular. And
unless
remember,
it's Alex Noren. Who was just a vice captain last Ryder Cup.
I guess that's the real problem is even if we all agree, okay, this is completely smoothed over, like the list is not short. Luke Donald could have carte blanche to do this for however long he wants to. At least that's what I would do if I was involved in this. I'd say, Luke, take us as long as you want. Then you've got both the Molinaris, you've got Alex Noren. Then as those guys start aging out, you're going to have Justin Rose. You're going to have Rory McIlroy probably be a playing captain at some point. The list is not short for European Ryder Cup captains.
Let's have a wine bet on this.
Okay.
I'm saying Stenson will be in the mix in a little while.
This is one of those wine bets that will take like 12. Like,
yeah.
Well, yeah. When Kyle pays me off in 2028, then I can pay it off if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you want? Great. What do you want this wine bet to be? That he's in the mix or that he's the Ryder Cup captain?
No, I think he's going to be right back in the mix. I really do. Because he's contemporaries with Luke and all those guys. And yes, he went off and took the money, but everyone's playing nice with each other right now. I'm sure he's talking with Guy Kinnings and company over there at the tour. He was represented by the folks who were very much involved with the DP World Tour as well. So I don't
All
know.
right.
I see it coming. He's very, very popular.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you 2027, 2029, 2031. By 2031, if he's at least a vice captain, I will send you a bottle of wine.
You got a deal.
All right.
Wow.
Book it.
That's a little soft, Rick. I think Mark has a real chance at winning this.
Really?
If you said that same timeline and it had to be captain, I would say send him the wine now, Mark. But you include vice captain in there, I think there's a chance.
Well, he said he wanted in the mix, and I did. You
got to define in the mix.
Okay. Wait. This is semantics now. So we don't know post Ireland where it's going in Europe, right?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Actually, no, I think we do. I think it's Spain, don't we? I think 20. So 27 would be there. 2031
It is Spain.
I think it's Spain.
Yeah, I guarantee you that folks up there in the Scandic countries have been lobbying in the biggest way, because it's the only place in Europe Germany hasn't had one. Northern Europe needs a Ryder Cup. Italy was massively popular. Spain will be, but there's been a Ryder Cup in Spain already when Seve was captain. Seve wasn't playing golf then, and he was the captain in Spain because he was Spain's guy. I'm looking at Henrik here going, he's a legend over there. It's if it goes to Sweden, he's a no-brainer.
All right. Well, I guess I'm banking my hopes on whether or not the Ryder Cup goes to Sweden, which I feel pretty good about. Speaking of healing wounds, healing bodies, unfortunately, Justin Thomas announced that he is not currently healed. In fact, he underwent a back surgery, which you always hate to hear. This is a micro discectomy, which he had at this point. That would have been last week. It would have been last Thursday. And Greg, when I start thinking about players and golfers getting back surgeries, I hate it.
I don't like it either. And I don't like it because of past results. Now, there have been some successful ones. I don't think Tiger Woods wins the 2019 Masters without the back fusion. But at the same time, he's had 7 back surgeries in 11 years. Will Zalatoris has had a second back surgery. You may not know this about me, but one of my passions other than the game of golf is
Nerf basketball.
Nerf basketball and weightlifting. And I follow a lot of this stuff on Instagram and social media, and I read about it. It's an interest of mine. So I'm no expert, but I'm very interested. And one of the strength and conditioning coaches that I follow talks about back surgery in this way. He says there are 3 options. A third of the time, they work, and the pain goes away, and it gets better. A third of the time, nothing happens. It doesn't get any better. And a third of the time, it gets worse. And about 25% of the time, when you have a back surgery, you end up having another one, which is where it gets really concerning and where you start thinking about Tiger having 7 and 11 years. So, look, I don't know what happened with JT. I don't have any clue if he actually needed it or not. But knowing that, it worries me anytime I hear back surgery, because you just don't know how you're going to recover from it. I don't believe there are any routine, easy back surgeries. I don't think it matters how good the doctor is. I just think it's a mystery. So this is concerning news to me.
Here's JT had to say he had some nagging hip pain for a handful of months. That's what he said. After some time off and worsening symptoms, he had an MRI, and it revealed that he had a disc problem that needed to be treated. So he went to New York and had this done. He said, my next few weeks, Mark, will be a lot of resting before the rehab process begins. He does not have anything close to a target date for his return to competitive golf, but did acknowledge that he certainly will miss time to start the 2026 season.
This is sad. I've got a few observations. First off, seriously, you look at the technique of the golf swing, a lot of side bend through contact, a lot of pushing up the pelvis into the spine with the upper body sort of tilted over to the right hand side. That is a lot of torque on the lower back. And so I can see how, in a similar sort of a Will Zalatoris kind of a vein, why you're putting a whole lot of stress when you're going at these guys' speeds on an area where it's just knuckles upon discs and stuff. And when you continue to bend your back in one way, some sort of a bulging disc is almost a guarantee, I hate to say. So golf swings in the modern game are lending themselves to this sort of an injury, because everyone, and this is where golf teachers, and I'm now on my podium, golf teachers need to start paying attention, and they need to start not doing the stuff and showing young kids the stuff, because I'm watching more and more kids come out with this massive side tilt going on, trying to hit the ball on the upswing with their hands out in front of them to lower spin. So it's kind of the nature of the beast right now. And the end of this road are a lot of lower back injuries. And when JT started using a longer driver for more speed, because you get these guys out there that hit it a mile, and then data people are saying, well, the longer you hit it, the better you're going to be. So everyone's going to do it. And this, sadly, is the shadow side of that argument. So people need to be a little careful. Okay, that's the coach in me that I've had my say so. This is awfully, and I was almost, when Greg shared the statistics and the data on the stuff, I was like, oh, this is just not good. Because like we're seeing Will Zalatoris right now, and he's showing videos going, I feel great, looking forward to coming back. Tiger Woods does the same thing. Now, granted, he's riddled with injuries and stuff, but once you have this discectomy, which is a shaving of the disc, if you continue to swing in the same way, you're going to have the same thing happening. And what comes after this is back fusion. And after back fusion, then, like Tiger says, that torque and that force starts going elsewhere into knees and ankles and other joints and stuff. So this is not a nice spot to be. And I'm certain once the rehab's done, JT may investigate this thing. But ever since I watched him as a kid, he's swung like he did. And then just lightheartedly, JT, bro, couldn't we get a better picture for this post? It's like he's standing in a lineup. I'm like, smile. And I know it's not good news, but gosh, what is the picture all about?
This looks like they are, validating life in a hostage video. This
Oh
is
my gosh.
like, it's insane. He's wearing like sweatpants shorts with a flannel button down, his Grayson hat. I mean, it's a full body shot for some reason. I have no idea why it's a full body shot. Definitely doesn't need to be. Didn't even need to be like a video at all.
Looks like he's just been arrested off the streets.
Yeah, it's crazy. I do think, and Mark made a good point there, Greg, that I think is interesting, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, is there's the recovery to this, right? There's the physical recovery to this. And then there is maybe trying to make adjustments to your swing so this doesn't happen again, which is what we saw Will Zalatoris do unsuccessfully, right? So even if the injury doesn't linger, the effects of this injury and potentially prevention of it might linger for a while.
Yeah. And you don't know what he's going to do. Now, it's such a tough one for so many reasons. Is there another I know he and his dad still work together, but a lot less. He kind of stepped away and started taking the bull by his own horns, or taking the bull by the horns with his own game, I should say.
No, Matt Killen's involved, bro. Matt Killen's back on the scene.
Okay, I've heard that name before. He's been involved. Does Matt Killen help him rebuild a swing? Do they determine that that's the issue? The other thing about this, Rick, is JT said, as you read, I had an issue in my hip, and then they found a problem in my back. In my experience in talking with physical therapists, that almost always goes the other way. You have an issue in your back, it's because of an issue in your hip. And the issue in the back doesn't. And then here's the other thing about the MRI. Okay, this is another thing that I've read about. Every human body over the age of 30 will have in an MRI an issue in the back that will show up. And if you don't know what the pain is, there's a reason to operate on every back. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's not. So I have a lot of questions about the process of this. I don't know anything about it. They could be spot on, and it could heal everything, and that would be great. But it doesn't seem, based on everything that I've read and have heard from people way smarter than me, it doesn't seem like great news.
Yeah,
And then, and what Mark was saying, if you don't change your swing, it's going to happen again. So now those lingering effects are either going to be more injury or, a swing change. You don't know how that's going to go either.
yeah, it's I don't want to say it's a disease in our game, but you got to create leverage in a certain way, and the golf swing, as you well know, Greg, it's a complete body motion, and if you a lot of tilting this way and rotating open, and the modern day swing has the face more shut to lower spin, and so you got to rotate and tilt hard to elevate the golf ball. And if you don't, the golf ball hooks, and if you don't do that fast, the ball doesn't stay in the air because the spin is down. So you got to go harder and harder and harder. Then when you get a longer golf club in your hand, there's gravity's unbeaten, man. And so that's where I just hope people listen to me. And if then they need to watch someone like a Kyle Berkshire, who creates speed with longer, softer, more footwork, and not as much tilting in his body, and tees the ball way forward and way high in the stance. But when you do that, you place less tilt on your body to hit the thing on the up. But as the ball's farther forward, your dispersion can get a little wider too, which these guys can't afford. So it's it's turning into a bit of a disease. And sadly, I hate to be a bearer of bad tidings, but we're going to see more of this stuff. My only concern is that JT comes back too soon. The one thing Xander Schauffele did well, and that was just with a rib injury, right, is he took a lot of time off. But then we kept on talking. Remember when Xander came back, it's like, gosh, now he's got to catch up with the guys he's been competing against. And he hasn't played under pressure for a while, and that's different. So if I was JT and these people, I'd be like, just put a pin in 2026. Let's just make sure that you are completely well and we know where we're going technique-wise for 2027 and beyond. Or else Kyle Porter may as well pay me his bet right now.
JT did say, I want to be very smart and patient in letting my disc fully heal so it's not an issue again. Easy to say when those events start, next year and everybody's gearing up for the Masters and everything like that, might pull JT back to the golf course. We'll see. Yes, Mark.
The good news in this is these boys with Tiger Woods, who's had this procedure done how many times? And maybe Tiger just says to him, look, bro, I'm in as good a shape as anybody. Let me give you what this is like. I've seen where you're going. And so hopefully he takes heed. I'm sure he does because he listens to Tiger.
Speaking of good news, let's end our storylines with a bit of good news. The LPGA is entering a new era of broadcast coverage for the first time ever. All rounds will air live on linear television. That's going to be across Golf Channel. It's going to be across Peacock and NBC, I believe. But this has been an initiative from the tour, now under new leadership, Greg. And listen, I'm sure I watch more LPGA than the average person. It's really hard to find. And sometimes when you find it, it's on tape delay. And I already know what has happened. This is, believe it or not, in 2026, going to be the first time that every single round will air live somewhere.
Certainly a good sign for the game of golf as a whole, and definitely a good sign for the LPGA Tour. The other really good news in this is not just that it's available to watch, but they're doing things to improve the broadcast, right? They're investing in more cameras and, some slow motion cameras and better graphics and better data and better statistics. And these kind of things are really important. If you look at it, it's really hard in 2026 to go on a website and a professional golf website and not have strokes gained data. It's really hard to follow an event and not have a shot tracer. You can't watch golf that way. It becomes antiquated. So you need these kind of things you need. And so it's great to get more, a bigger platform, but you better do something with it because you want people to stay. It doesn't matter that they found it if they don't like it. So you got to invest in the quality of the product as well. And it sounds like that's exactly what they're doing, which I think is, like I said, a great thing for the game of golf. And there's a lot more golf fans now. And when they find it, which they're more likely to now, hopefully they enjoy the product more and stay.
Yeah. The parity, they have stars and the parity is very high. They had like 26 events this year and 26 different winners or something outrageous like that. Here's the broadcast stuff, Mr. Immelman. We've got a 50% increase in the total number of cameras versus this past year, slow motion cameras, and 3 times as many microphones to, quote, make the fans feel like they're right there on the course. They're going to add drones. They are going to add walk and talks. They are doing a variety of other items to enhance the content and production so that not only when you are watching it live and watching it more frequently, you're getting a better broadcast experience along the way.
And this is long overdue. I'm a dad of a girl golfer, and obviously this is great news for me. I will say this, that in that previous image you showed there, it was so cool to see Lottie Wode's picture on there.
Yeah.
I mean, just like 9 months ago was at Florida State, and she's bounced. She's at the professional game like a tornado. And there's so many to her. There's so many cool personalities and cool stories. So finally, maybe we'll hear the entire story. I mean, you're looking at Lydia Ko over there, who child prodigy now has earned her way already into the Women's Golf Hall of Fame when she won the Open Championship at St. Andrews. And that story was documented, but it didn't get the justice it deserved. So now all of these stars and all these fascinating characters and all these girls that honestly play a game that's more relatable to most club golfers, I think it's well overdue. Look, I'm good. This is good to hear. I'm proud of Craig, the new commissioner. Apparently things are changing over there. So this is awesome. And I was excited when I saw this news.
Yeah, it is cool. And to put a pin in it, it is more relatable for me, Greg. The distances they hit it, I aspire to have the swings that they have with their oftentimes just easy tempo and never swinging out of their shoes. I could learn a thing or two from watching more LPGA golf.
Yeah, it's still not relatable, Rick.
No,
they're way better than you.
Well, yeah.
I would hope.
There's nothing relatable about someone that's shooting, 67 every time they tee it up or better.
Yeah. Okay. But when we have our good holes, Greg,
yes,
let me share a quick story and we can move on. Here recently, I was chatting with the Alabama women's golf team, and their coach, Mick Potter, is a Hall of Fame legend, right? And he's been in golf forever, and he's one of the wisest men I know. And so they're asking me questions, and I'm sharing anecdotes from the tour. And I'm basically going to them. I'm like, well, Scotty Scheffler, if you look at it, if he has a great ball striking day and he drives it, he's probably hitting like 70% of the fairways. So I'm like, power is a good idea. And, Mick, who's pretty quiet, sort of just looked at me like this, and I saw he sort of looked away, and I saw he look down a little bit. And when I'd finished with my spiel, and the girls were hanging on my every word because I'm so wise.
Yes, we all do.
Mick pipes up and he goes, ladies, you are not as strong as men to play out of the rough like the men do. So if they hit 7 out of 10 fairways, they can chop the ball out of the other 3 out of 10 fairways and get it somewhere around the green. He goes, I have not seen a woman in all of my years of women's coaching that is strong enough. So how about we keep trying to find as many fairways as possible, and then we play from the fairway to get it to the green. And I considered myself berated. And then it sort of made me have to double take and do a mea culpa, because I tell most club golfers, I'm like, stop the chase for distance. Like Brendan Todd once told me, he goes, distance is a luxury, accuracy wins tournaments. And so Mick Potter called me out, and I stand called out. And this is why I like to watch the women, because you never really see them hitting the sights here like the male does. If they're missing a fairway, it's just off the edges of the thing. Accuracy is key.
Yeah, they're not
They're
taking
hitting like 85% of their fairways.
Yeah,
anyway.
no.
I have it right here. They're not taking that line of sight relief from the scoreboard 3 fairways over. So Colin Morikawa, notable, accurate driver of the golf ball. 7th on tour. He hits about just a touch over 70% of his fairways. 7th on the PGA Tour. He would be 85th on the LPGA. There are 84 women who hit 70% of their fairways or more. The leader at nearly 84%.
Sorry, Coach Mick. I will stand down.
Stand down. We'll get back to the men's game here. RSM Classic is the final event of the FedEx Fall. It is going to be played over 2 courses, Gregor's, the Seaside course and the Plantation course. Each golfer in the field will play 1 round at each of those before a cut is made, and we head back to the Seaside course. This is a phenomenal event, a great pair of golf courses, always at the same time of the year. What are our expectations for the RSM Classic this week?
Well, this is very similar to Bermuda. It's very weather dependent. And you have the Seaside course where they'll play 3 rounds and the Plantation course where they'll play 2. Looking at the stats over the years, the course stats over the years, the Plantation course is much more similar year over year in the rankings of driving accuracy, greens of regulation, birdie average, scoring average. It's much more similar. The Seaside course has a tendency of, it has much more volatility. You know, you might see 3.1 birdies per round and you might see 4.33. And that all has to do with the weather. And looking at the projected winds for this week, they're expected to be pretty low. You know, I don't think the gusts are even going to touch 10 miles an hour on Thursday. They may late in the day, just to 10. You know, late in the afternoon on Friday, gusts may touch 10, and Sunday they're not going to touch 10 at all. We may get gusts in the 15 mile an hour range on Saturday, but no sustained winds over 10 miles an hour throughout the entire week. So I'm expecting a lot of birdies. I'm expecting this to be one of the lower scoring versions. I'm not sure we're going to reach 29 under like we did a couple years ago with Ludwig Oberg, who shot 61-61 to close. I'm not sure that's going to be in the cards this week, but it'll be closer to that than some of the 14, 15 under par winning scores we've seen in years past as well.
Well, Greg's nailed it, Mark, right? I mean, the Seaside course, just think of its name right there on the water side of things, much more susceptible to any of that wind and weather that might roll in.
Yeah, and also the Seaside course only has 2 par 5s. Whereas Plantation has 4, and all of them you can reach with an iron if conditions aren't too cold, because it gets chilly there in the morning when you're right on the sound. And so what may say 40 on the thermometer feels like it's about 32 with the water right next door to you. So but the course is always in sensational shape. We've had a pretty dry, honestly, fall here in Georgia, and so I expect both courses to be really good. I will say this. If you had to say to me, okay, you only get to play golf on 1 golf course for the rest of your life, Seaside at Sea Island would be on my short list. Wow. That place is sensational. It's got a nice mix of long and short holes. Greens are always immaculate. Wind is in play over there. They're dog legs. It's just it fits beautifully into the environment over there. So it's a great spot. Davis Love is a sensational host. It's just great. You've been there. It's just great all around. So I always look forward to this event. I always watch it because the views are sensational. And it always seems to spit out a pretty exciting tournament because of the finish on the Seaside course, where you've got 13, which is sort of a challenging-ish par 4. You have to drive it. There's water and reeds and marshland all the way down the left. In the fairway, you get a wedge. But 14, water and stuff on the side, bush on the right, very difficult. Then 15 is a reachable 5. Then 16, it's a difficult tee shot because there's a bunker and the sound all the way down the left. If you get it in play, you can have a wedge in hand. Then 17 is a challenging par 3, and 18 is a good long finishing hole. Well, not that long anymore for the kids. but it's got a tiny green. So you see a lot of changes over the last few holes. Like the first time I was ever there, we had Tommy Gainey was out of it, my goodness, and shot 60. He went out early and shot 60, and the wind picked up, and that was enough. So I've seen some crazy stuff. I've seen like 4 people playoffs over there, and we've had to come back the following morning. So it's always exciting, and it's a great spot, and it's an awesome way, to me, to finish off the season in golf in the PGA Tour.
Tommy Gainey took Victor Perez's spot. So he is in this field now and ready to rock and roll. Final thing before we get to our grid here, Greg, is, we've been talking about this all fall long. This is it. This is your last chance to get into whatever milestone works best for you. Top 60 would get you into the signature events, the first couple for next year. 58 is Jordan Spieth. 57 is Rico Hoey. Jake Knapp, Kevin Yu at 59 and 60, just outside, not playing. You're going to how many guys are going to get in that 6th spot?
Rick, I'm not sure if that was just on my end, but
it sounded like his internet went down a bit.
Breaking up a little bit there. But I think I got the gist of what you're talking about. There are a number of bubbles.
Are you an alien as well?
I wasn't sure if you were using one of your voice changers.
No, no, not this time.
Over there. All right. Well, you sound better now. Jordan Spieth certainly at risk here of falling out of the top 60, which would be too bad. We don't want him having to go for these sponsor exemptions into signature events anymore. He's certainly at risk.
He'll get into Pebble Beach with AT&T being a sponsor, so he'll play the first one.
Yep, yeah, that's likely. He's at 927 points. Jake Knapp is at 889. Jake Knapp's playing. Jordan Spieth is not. Wyndham Clark is at 884. He's not playing. Nico Echeverria at 880 is. So he's about 47 points behind. He's going to need a good week. That puts Jordan in pretty good position. I think Jordan's in a pretty good spot.
At this point, because I know Jordan can get any sponsors invite he wants, I want him to be in so that we can use that on somebody else.
Yes, I totally agree. And I don't want to hear the nonsense anymore. I want him to earn it, and I want him to play. I want both of those things to be true. So the really interesting one for this week, and we had a lot of this drama last week, is this top 100 spot where you got Carl Phillips at 100th, but Max Homa. Some of these guys are already exempt. Matt Wallace already exempt. So you got guys like Bo Hostler, Isaiah Salinda, who are just outside looking to earn their way in. Formerly Victor Perez, although he's gone elsewhere. Patrick Fishburne. Pearson Coody has gotten in. So, some of these guys that are well down the list, like Chris Ventura, for instance, who's 116th, Austin Eckroat, who's 118th, Andrew Putnam at 119. They're going to need really big weeks to get in there. And I'm hoping that we get some of them into the mix come Sunday, because it always leads to great storylines.
Well, let's see if we can start naming some names and finding guys who are going to have some success this week. We have a grid that we put together with a matchup, a finishing position, and 2 separate outrights for the week. And Armina can release that grid right now. Boom. Well done indeed. And my 2 compatriots, is that the right word? My 2 colleagues have found the same matchup. Mark, why don't you go first here?
Okay, well, Keith Mitchell played golf at the University of Georgia, and whenever Seaside rolls around, because the SEC championships were played down there for the longest time, I tend to want to lean towards golfers who played golf in the SEC. But Eric Cole's been playing really solid for a long while now. He is from Florida. He gets the whole Bermuda grass thing, although this golf course is overseed in Rye most years. But he's a tremendous putter and a good green reader, and he's very accurate. So he sort of fits the bill. So I'm just going with form over Keith, who tends to be, fantastic in round 1 and then sort of fritters the thing away over 4 rounds. So even though it's a minus number, I'm pretty confident with Eric pipping Keith Mitchell down this week.
It's Brian Harman minus 120 for me over JT Poston, two guys that in theory should set up pretty well for the Seaside course, but Harman's recent play has me a little bit more infatuated. Greg, Eric Cole is interesting, right? You know, he's obviously not playing as well as he was when he was Rookie of the Year. He's starting to find his form late in 2025. Keith Mitchell, Mark is right, has kind of been all over the place outside of the opening round. Like, what are we feeling about this matchup?
Yeah, I think things are trending in the right direction for Eric Cole. He missed the cut last week in Bermuda, but that was a different kind of golf. And so top tens in Jackson, and also where else did he finish top 10? In Mexico as well. He finished top 10 both of those spots with much lighter wins. I expect lighter wins this week. I think birdies are going to be important. Distance can be an advantage, but not necessarily. I don't think he loses out anything. And you see that in his past results. He finished tied 15th last year, tied third the year before that. I like his performance at this golf course more than Keith Mitchell, and I like his recent form more than Keith Mitchell's.
All right, so 2 votes for Eric Cole over Keith Mitchell. I'm going Harman over Poston. For finishing positions, Mark and I each have a top 40. Greg stands alone with a top 20. I'm going to bounce it right back to you, Gregors. Who did you find this week in the top 20 market?
This is Seamus Power, who's 129th. He's 129th in the FedEx Cup standings, so he's in need of a big week. He just finished tied 11th in Bermuda, and we liked him in Bermuda last week. Yeah. Big part of the reason is he's starting to show signs of hitting the ball a little bit better, which is his MO. He's a really solid ball striker, and it looks like that is, stayed intact. So he showed some good signs in Mississippi and in Utah, and then in Mexico and Bermuda as well. He played well, and the results started to show. T27, T11 in his last 2 starts. I think Seamus Power's trended in the right direction and setting up for a top 20 at a nice number, mind you.
Yeah, plus 230 for Seamus Power to finish inside the top 20 this week. Hello, Josh. Mark, have you got me a top 40? I think you do. Who'd you go with?
I do. And when I saw this, I thought it was a typo because this guy owns the course record at Seaside. He's won the RSM Classic. He's had 2 runners-up and a 5th last year. So his record around this joint is pretty good. And this guy is Mackenzie Hughes. And I saw him in a top 40 for plus money. And I was like, geez, sign me up. Because, look, he's very comfortable around there. He lives just up the way in North Carolina. So Mackenzie Hughes, top 40, book it.
Everybody in this field dating back to 2017, Mackenzie Hughes has been the best player at Sea Island, 1.27 strokes gained per round. He's got those 4 top 10s. All 4 of them are top 5s. One of them is a victory, even money to finish inside the top 40. I also had a top 40, but I went with Zach Blair. I think it's Zach Blair season. You get a couple of golf courses in which distance doesn't really matter. Accuracy reigns supreme. He played great at the Black Desert. Played great in Bermuda. I think he's going to play great this week, but doesn't even have to play all that well. Top 40 for me at plus 120. I'm scanning to see if we have any common golfers in our outrights. We do. We do. Okay, I'll hold on to that one. Greg, why don't you give me your first golfer for an outright this week?
First on my list is Sahith Theegala at 65-1. Finished tied 42nd last week in Bermuda, and I think that was a respectable performance. It was a pretty intense golf over there, and I think extremely challenging. So he held it together well. For the same reasons I liked him last week, I think this is a healthy Theegala, who I still believe is trending in the right direction. So for all the same reasons I liked him last week, I like going to him again this week. I think he's one of the better players in this field, who's playing better and getting better and still hungry to go, right? This is like strangely not the end of the season for him. He's trying to find his game. And I think he's found something that could lead to a win.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to heat up a little bit while everybody's cooling down. Mark, why don't you give me your first outright, please?
My first one has won this event. I had to make sure of it, so I quickly type in, has Chris Kirk won the RSM, or what year did Chris Kirk win the RSM Classic? And AI put a picture of Hudson Swafford up there for Chris Kirk.
Oh, it's working beautifully then.
Exactly. So he won this event in 2013, used to live down here, George Boy, and he's had some time off, but I spoke with his caddy, Mike Cromie, the other day, and Mike's like, look, Chris rolls out of bed and plays well, especially around this place. Chris has mentioned to me, because he's sponsored by RSM, he circles this event in the calendar, loves to come down here, brings the family, always in a good headspace. So Chris Kirk plus 35 to 1. I just love him around this golf course.
Yeah, 35 to 1 is about the same odds that the AI summary gets something correct. That's the same odds that Chris Kirk has to win the RSM Classic. I went with Vince Whaley also at 35 to 1. There's a lot of good golfers in that range, more to come. And Whaley's got a pair of podium finishes this fall, one in Jackson, one in Bermuda. Actually was like leading the Bermuda Championship for a moment on Sunday. His game is rounding into form kind of at the end, just like we talked about a bit with Sahith Theegala. I think this is a really good spot for Mr. Whaley. Now, Greg, your second outright is a man who has already cashed a ticket in this fall season. Who is it, please?
Michael Brennan.
Sure.
At 40 to 1. Look, I don't know. There's a reason why Michael Brennan is here in the winners column. I think there's a very good opportunity that he is. I think there's a very good chance that he's a superstar. And we just don't know it yet. I watched him play last week in Bermuda. And there are so many young players that are coming out of college like him, coming off PGA Tour, the Americas Tour, that haven't played golf in that kind of condition very often. I mean, there are some guys, you may never play golf like that in Bermuda, and he handled it, and he finished tied 18th after T59 in Mexico right after he wins. I'm like, okay, this guy's for real. I think he's for real. And I think of, well, the RSM, distance isn't necessarily important, but it also doesn't hurt. The guy that I mentioned earlier, Ludwig Oberg, came out here and just lit the place up, shooting 61-61 on the weekend, as I already mentioned. And I think there could be some parallels there. So I have a feeling you're not going to get Michael Brennan at 40 to 1 very long. If this one hits, it'll never happen again.
It'll never happen again.
I think there's a potential that this is a actual superstar. I know players have won in Utah and have been just good PGA Tour players. I think there's a chance that Michael Brennan is at a different level.
He's 40 to 1. We have been peppering this 35 to 65 to 1 range. A lot of really good names at longer odds than we normally see. And we're just going to continue. Mark and I have the same outright for our second player, a guy who has not teed it up competitively in 3 months, Mark, but we're not worried, are we? Who is it?
No, we're never worried with Bug. I mean, he's just an incredible athlete. And he's coming off for the finger injury, surgery, or whatever it was. But it's strange because he's played really well at this golf course before. In fact, he's had a shot to win around here, and it just seems to fit his game. It's that flat ball flight. If the wind's up, it's not going to bother him. A lot of the greens are pretty big targets, so lag putting is a big deal if you're a little off and it's windy. So that's playing into his favor as well. And he's just a marvelous iron player, and he's the kind of guy he's in a point in his career where it doesn't seem to me like he's awfully phased. Like the last time I talked with him, he was coming off another injury, and it was earlier this season, and he was on the range and in contention after having time off. And I was like, Bug, how you feeling? And he goes, man, I'm feeling good. And I was like, buddy? And he goes, no, the body's fine. And my golf swing, he goes, oh, geez, really? I mean, it's my golf swing is my golf swing kind of thing. And so that's who he is mentally. So I feel like if he's been playing this fall or not, Daniel Berger is going to find a way to put a score on the board. He's just that sort of a golfer. And when I saw the number at 35 to 1 at a place where he's played well, I was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. When healthy, he's an outstanding player. We saw it here last year. He finished in a tie for second. We saw it at the beginning for at least the first half of 2025, and then things started to go sideways. And with that injury, took some time off. We last saw him WD at the BMW Championship. But I'm with Mark here. I think he's just one of the best players in the field. 35-1 is too long. I'm willing to be early rather than late. So that's two burgers at 35-1. Yes, Mark.
I just need to say this. This is conjecture.
Okay.
And I'm sort of joking, but maybe I'm not sort of joking. That I think Bug just says, look, my finger is sore. So he can go straight vibing on his boat for a few months and not have to work on his game. He's that sort of a guy. He really is. He plays golf for fun. When he's playing golf, he's gambling with someone. He plays tennis all the time. And then he cruises around on his boat, straight vibing. I think he just takes time off and causes an injury.
Definitely on that short list of guys that I would believe do exactly that. Berger 35-1, Chris Kirk, Vince Whaley 35-1, 35-1, Michael Brennan 40, and the longest on the board, Sahith Theegala at 65-1. The outrights for this week's RSM Classic. Mr. Mark, we can bid adieu to you here. Greg and I are going to stay and do some DFS, some fantasy angles, but I'll give you the final word here. Anything you want to say before you get out of town?
Yeah, you boys share the wisdom, please. I want everyone who listens to you to win. And Luke Gully, whatever. That's all I have to say. Peace.
All right, goodbye. Peace, Mark. Luke Gully has said he just joined the one and done and that we are all doomed. Well, we will see about that. The one and done, links in the description. It's available on Splash Sports. They are giving away a travel stipends, Gregors, down to the Players Championship, hospitality tickets to sit next to me. That's part one. You enter two entries, you get that. I'm paying for a trip for somebody to come out to the West Coast and play golf with me. If you enter before January 1st. So there's a lot of momentum building. I know it's November. I know next week is Thanksgiving. I know it's holiday season, but it will be Sony Open before you know it.
Before you know it, and you're going to wish that you were in the one and done.
You're going to wish.
It's huge. It's going to be huge. So I can't wait for this. Like we talk about all the time, I love one and done. And maybe we're all doomed, but maybe you're doomed. We'll see. I can't wait. I'm taking this one and done very seriously this year.
6 years ago, that one and done had 200 people in it. It will have 5,500 in it this year.
Oh,
and I'm not sure that's going to stop. I'm sure I've said this 1,000 times. NFL Survivor has exploded and Golf One and Done has exploded. I don't know where the ceiling is yet. I don't think we found it, but it's very exciting. And people, like you said, Greg, they take it very seriously.
Yeah, and it keeps you connected to the game of golf for the whole year. I have some friends who are golf fans, and they're in a one and done, and it's the first thing, anytime we get together, it's the first thing they tell me about, who they had in one and done, where they stand, who should they take next week. It's fantastic. So, yeah, there's definitely a growing interest in the past couple of years, and I think you have a lot to do with it, Rick.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very sweet. We are going to talk fantasy right now. Now, the way that we do this, if you've never seen it before, we get to this part of the show. Greg and I get an opportunity to talk about some more golfers, and we use the DraftKings pricing to get a good mix of players across different salaries and, of course, then different sentiments. So before we dive too deep into this, I require Greg to give me his golfer of the week. It could be literally anyone, but he has thought through the pricing, the recent form, the course history, the vibes, whatever it takes. And this week he said to me, Rick, my golfer of the week is
Michael Brennan.
There it is.
Normally, typically when I pick golfer of the week, it's not the guy I think is going to win. It's the guy I'm most confident in will play well. Right, so this is a safe. Often it's the guy I have in my top 20 bucket. It's a guy that I'll play in DFS. It's a guy that I'll try to find a matchup and play. Not necessarily a winner. This is a guy I think can just absolutely win, and I think he could dominate, quite frankly. He's at 40-1 and 8,400 on DraftKings. I just think it's way too low. Played well in Bermuda, like we talked about, won in Utah. And I think this place could set up perfectly for him. So, yeah, I'm psyched to see what Michael Brennan does. Like I said, I think this is a potential superstar. At the very least, he'll be a star. So I'm a big fan of his game, and I think it works here at Sea Island.
He's got to be top of the list of guys I'm just excited to see what the next 6 or 12 months looks like.
Yeah,
because I agree that it could be fairly insane, or I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe this is the kind of hype that hurts if he's just good, if he's a very good player. But I don't get that sense at all. I look at the golf swing. I listen to him in interviews. I see him play last week in Bermuda, a totally different style of golf. And I think he's got it all. Maybe some of the short game and the putting could use a little work. It's something he said has made the difference for him on PGA Tour Americas this year. So it's already taken a step. It probably needs more work. But I think on a golf course like this, he's sharp enough and confident enough to go out and get the job done. I literally can't wait to see what he does this week.
Let's tackle the rest of the board here. Excuse me, the top of the board. 9K and higher on DraftKings. So this is the higher end of the board. We've got a handful of names here, Gregors. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm very interested in Michael Thorbjornsen up there near the very top. He's second in this DraftKings pricing. I think this is a guy that's played some really good golf. He came in third. He came in third at the Bay Current, 37th in Utah, 31st last week, and he played really well here last year. I believe, what did he finish here last year? Eighth.
Yeah.
Played some good golf. So I think this is also a player whose game is trending in the right direction. Needs a little work around the greens, like Michael Brennan. I don't know if he's very expensive at $10,200, but he is my favorite $10,000 golfer.
Well, so it's interesting because I think I agree with you, because the other options are Harris English or Siwoo Kim, which I think they have more flaws in their game. I think English is kind of trending down a little bit. I think Thorbjornsen's trending up a little bit. So I'm with you. While it is probably the most expensive he's ever been, it doesn't make me super uneasy to click it.
No. And 10,200, you can build a good lineup with that as your top price. The decision comes with the 9K guys. I don't know if you're going to go with Thorbjornsen and Hoey together. I like Rico Hoey as well. How would I make that choice? I think that's a really hard choice. Rico Hoey has the 3 top 10s earlier this fall, and he finished tied 21st in Mexico and tied 22nd last week. That finish surprised me in Bermuda. He played better than I expected. I was expecting to see a CUT next to his name in Bermuda, and he played well. So I think this Rico Hoey train continues. Yeah, and I'm willing to start lineups there as well.
I got away with fading Rico Hoey last week because I actually think he played better than this 22nd. He was, I want to say it was Friday or Saturday. He had by far the best round of the day going. He was like 6 under par. He made a bogey, a pretty bad bogey, and then he made a triple on the par 5 late in that round. I mean, he played like 70 great holes last week. I'll tell you that. And I got away with fading him because he finished T22, but I learned a lot about Rico last.
Yeah. He's I agree with you. He showed me that he's the real deal. At least for the fall.
Yeah, he's played 6 times in the fall. He has 3 top 10s and 5 top 22s. So the only time he has finished outside the top 25, he missed the cut in Jackson. He's been outstanding otherwise.
Yeah, and that's what happens when he's the second best ball striker on tour behind Scotty Scheffler for the year. You know, that raises your floor pretty significantly. I know he's not playing in all the signature events and everything, so perhaps a little asterisk next to it, but he's proven this fall he can hit it with those guys.
Where do you want to go next, Greg?
Brian Harman.
Okay.
You like Brian Harman as well.
I do, and I'm not a huge Brian Harman guy, but it's hard to look past this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, he played in India. He played the Tour Championship. We haven't seen a whole lot of him. I'm sure he's been on the farm, happy as could be. The play was really good before when we last saw him. It was much better. And this is a place that's been pretty good to him. You know, he was tied second in 2022, tied 44th in 23, tied 25th last year, tied fourth in 2017, tied 10th in 13. Like he's accumulated a number of really good results here. And what I saw from him last week where we left off, things were in pretty good order. So I think Brian Harman is worth a play as well. I mean, Rico Hoey and Brian Harman, pairing those two at the top of your lineup is fine with me.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys with Sea Island connections, and your first thought is, oh, they must all play well here. It's actually kind of the opposite. There's a lot of Sea Island guys with just 15 years of below average results here. Brian Harman is definitely on the higher end of things and has high upside. He struggled a little bit after the win at the Texas Open, but like I have it up on the screen right now. The way that he finished from the Open Championship through the DP World Tour, the event in India, I was pretty impressed with. And now we get a happy hunting ground again. So yeah, I'm in on Brian Harman with you.
I generally ignore the Sea Island connections.
It's probably good.
Distracting. I pay no attention to them. Yeah. And just look at the results. I don't care where they live. That doesn't work. Another really safe play in the 9K range, Rick, Thorbjorn Olesen.
Not a Sea Island guy.
Not a Sea Island guy, but playing phenomenal golf. T29 last week, T14 in Mexico at El Cardinal, T3, T9, T14 the weeks before that. This has been stellar play. He's done it across the board. Every area of his game is good. I don't see why he wouldn't have a win in him. I think he's just playing great golf. Very safe play. I like him in the low side of the 9K pricing here.
He's never played here before, but that's not going to keep me away. Thorbjorn Olesen making his debut at the RSM Classic. The 8K range, you gave me two golfers. One of them was Michael Brennan, who we have discussed quite a bit. The other man is Pearson Coody, now with enough rounds to qualify. He's the best driver on the PGA Tour, Greg.
Yes. I don't know if I would say he's a better driver of the ball than Scotty Scheffler or
I don't know.
Rory McIlroy, but the stats don't lie.
That's right.
Stats don't lie. This has been a stellar couple of months for him. Since the middle of September, he hasn't finished outside the top 31, which I guess T31 at El Cardinal. He just never really got it going in Bermuda last week. A lot of guys didn't, but he still finished tied 22nd, played really well. I love what he can do with the driver, with his ability tee to green. It's really strong, and he's on the hot side right now. So I really like Pearson Coody in this range. So, you know, so far through these first three ranges, you got Thorbjornsen, who's played well in the fall, Hoey, who's played well in the fall, Olesen and Coody and Michael Brennan, all guys who have played a lot this fall. And I tend to go to those guys more than the guys that haven't played since the Tour Championship. Although I do mix Brian Harman in there.
I was going to say, are you going to continue that in the 7K range?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely am. Right? I go right to Seamus Power, who we talked about already.
Love this.
I think Seamus Power is trending in the right direction. I think he's got a lot to play for. When you look at where he stands in the FedEx Cup, in the FedEx Cup fall, and I'm really confident with a top 20 out of Seamus Power. So roll with that. Sahith Theegala, another guy in the 7K range.
$7,800.
Just seems too low.
It's going to be a shame when, you know, he doesn't win, he finishes like T19. Then he gets off to like an okay start at the Sony and like kind of works his way in. And he just slowly increases his price until he's like, you never get that big payoff. We're here. We're early. We're ready. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
It's 7,800.
Pay me.
He's incredibly mispriced. Like, let's go. I want to reap the rewards of this.
I think he's the kind of player that can do that. Also, I think there's been enough building, and I think at this point he could go win. And we're not going to get the crazy wins this week, which I actually like him in, but I think you can see a really good golf game out of Theegala this week. So I'm hoping for it.
Eric Cole is next on your list, and what you'll see is a lot of red in the driving category. He's very short, and he's kind of inaccurate off the tee. What I also find interesting, though, Greg, is he's played here 3 times previously, and you have to remember the ShotLink data is only 3 rounds, so keep that in mind. It's only on the Seaside course. He has hemorrhaged strokes off the tee, but he still finds a way to have some pretty good results here. So his worst result is a 39th. He finished 3rd in 2023. He finished 15th here last year. Like if he can just, we always say if he can just putt to a 0, if Eric Cole can just drive to a 0, I feel like he's in play this week.
Yeah, and all that takes this week is hitting fairways. It's not a huge, and it doesn't even have to be with driver, right? Put the ball in play and avoid penalties. If Eric Cole can avoid penalties off the tee, he can get to a 0 off the tee. And I love the iron play and putting combo. So Eric Cole got to be on your list. I think iron play is going to be really important this week, considering the light winds.
Your final 2 golfers in the 7K range share the same initials for both their first and the last names, a pair of MMs. And we're going to start with Mac Meisner here, Greg. Yeah. And for all the red that we saw on Eric Cole's profile, you will find none of that on Mac's profile. It is as green as the day is long or whatever.
Yeah, it's as green as Ireland after a rainstorm. It's green everywhere. He came in second at the Wyndham, and he's played a lot in the fall. He played at the Procore, the Sanderson, the Bay Current, and in Utah, and they've all been top 30 finishes except the Procore, which was obviously the longest one to go, and that was a tie 47th. So he's played great, and he's done it in every category. And this is just a sign that it hasn't quite come together yet, right? Everything is in working order. He's playing really well. This is a little, 5 birdies in a row on Friday afternoon away from getting into contention. And every part of his game is in a place to do that. So I can't pass this stat profile up.
From Mac Meisner to Max McGreevy, who also had a chance to win in Bermuda last week. He ended up finishing in a tie for 3rd. That is not his only top 15 of the fall. He had a T11 at the Black Desert. So when you see McGreevy's profile and his salary for the week, what gets you excited?
Yeah, well, he's got 4 consecutive made cuts in the fall, and you're starting to see some upside with the finish last week in Bermuda. And it feels like, considering what he did in Utah and then what he did last week in Bermuda, it feels like this is a guy that's chasing a trophy. It feels like he believes he can win, and he's got his eyes set on that. It's clear that he's swinging very well. I saw a lot of him last week in Bermuda, and he looks really good right now. So, I almost wish I didn't see quite as much of him last week. Sometimes that leads me astray because they all look so good when they're on TV. But I was really impressed with that golf swing. And I like what he had to say after his rounds as well. So I think he's in a really good place. And at 7,400, I'm willing to take a chance on it.
One man in the $6,000 range for you, and we have already mentioned him on this show. It is Zach Blair, who, Greg, I have on my grid just because I think it's that time of year where he can get away with this. And at $6,800, you're certainly going to get my endorsement for clicking his name.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get quite as much randomness as you did last week with the lighter wins. Like I do think the guys near the top of the board will have the opportunity to play a little better. and there's not much going on in this 6K range. Not a lot of good performance lately. But Zach Blair has performed pretty well. You know, he's driven the ball well. He's hit the ball great. Putter could probably, he'd like the putter to heat up a little bit, but it seems like he's in a nice hot streak and feeling quite confident with his game. So he is by far, to me, the best looking profile in the 6K range. And as you outlined, that distance shouldn't be an issue this week.
Yeah, a lot of different ways to get it done. Zach Blair playing confidently. Mina, I screwed up the scene. Could you fix that for me so that we're not? Thank you very much. All right. All right, Greg, we got a lot of names across the board. We've got some cheap options. We did the grid. We talked about the courses. We did storylines. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about before Armina shuts us down?
I can't think of a single thing. I'm just hoping Michael Brennan delivers this week, because I think it'd be great story for the game of golf. I can't wait to see it.
Are you tuning up at all for trivia next week?
No, but it's very exciting. Yes. Very exciting.
Thank you.
And we ought to do that a little earlier in the week.
I agree.
Yeah. I think that would be a good idea. Maybe that's a Tuesday thing.
Yeah.
It's probably an off-air conversation, but
probably so that we don't sit here and read our calendars and schedules and all that stuff. But I agree. I would, even if we put it in the can and release it, I think we should get people are going to be traveling next week. People are going to be looking for things to consume. They can play along. I think we should get it done.
I'm in. I'm with you. Let's talk after the show.
Let's talk. Okay. Well, that'll do it. All the links for all the possible things that you could need, like the one and done, are in the description. If you want to just subscribe on Spotify or whatever, that's down there as well. Everything you need is there. We'll be back on Friday, halfway point of the RSM Classic. And for now, I'm going to say thanks to producer Mina. She does all the hard work behind the scenes. Mark Immelman is gone already. Greg DuCharme is right there. I'm Rick Gehman. This is The Second Cut. We'll catch you next time.